So let's say, bar none, this is like, of your racing ability, fair to say this is like 10 out of 10 for you. Like this is the track that you're most familiar with.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
I grew up at this track, and this is the closest track to home. This is the track that I've ridden at the most. So I would say I know pretty much everything at this track.
How many times did you race on this track before you're like, oh yeah, I got this track down?
A few times, because the one thing with racetracks is that the road conditions always change. Like how I mentioned earlier, cars and bikes, Formula cars, they have drift events out here, time attack events. So the pavement of the road is always going to be changed, you know, as time goes on. I remember when I first came out here, my very first time out here, the track surface and the road condition was so much better. But you see, 3 years has gone by, and the road is slowly getting eaten up by cars and motorcycles.
How would you rate your ability to adapt to new tracks?
I would say I'm fairly good.
Yeah.
That is a skill that we had to learn in MotoAmerica. Not just me, but whoever that was on my team. My first year in MotoAmerica, when we started traveling around the nation, racing at new tracks and racing with new people, it was very hard because we never had time to actually go to that track and learn it. And we had, I think it was 1 20-minute session to learn the track.
Wow.
And if the lap times here are roughly 2 minutes, you only get 10 laps to learn the track. So you got 10 laps to figure out your suspension. You got 10 laps to figure out your gearing for the track. You got 10 laps to figure out all the electronics needed for that track, and you know what tire compound you're gonna run. The gearing could be very hard as well. The suspension, because as you get faster, your bike is gonna change. Your bike's gonna start moving a lot more. There's a lot of factors that goes into it, and I feel like when I first started racing professional series like MotoAmerica, that has made me a better rider, because that taught me a lot of how to learn tracks and to read the road conditions, a lot of stuff like that.
Interesting. What's the average age rider in MotoAmerica, would you say?
I would say people in their 20s.
Under 20s?
In their 20s.
Oh, in their 20s.
It's usually the younger guys when it comes into motorcycles.
Yeah.
Once you reach a certain age, like 40, 50 years old, a lot of those racers, they would tend to retire at that age.
Yeah.
Because motorcycles, it's a very dangerous sport, you know. There's kids out there that are like 12, 13 years old that can crash at 100 miles per hour and get up perfectly fine, you know.
Yeah.
But if you told an older guy to do that, he might not be standing up. You know?
Yeah. If I go down, I'm staying down, kind of a deal.
So it's usually the younger people, and a lot of these racers, they start racing when they're 5, 6 years old. And by the time they're 12, 13, 14 years old, they're already professional riders.
Yeah.
They're already riders that are racing in the top, level of motorcycle racing. They're the guys that have factory teams behind them already at that age. They're the ones making millions of dollars at 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
So racing, it does get very competitive, depending on who you race with.
How are so have you've internationally, have you only raced Thailand, or have you gone other places also?
Just Thailand, yes.
How are American racers regarded over there?
America, we are considered, we're usually considered one of the slower riders.
Slower, huh?
Because racing in America is not as big as racing in overseas, like Europe or Asia and other countries. In America, we have NASCAR. That's our racing here in NASCAR. Motorcycle racing, it's a dying sport here in America, at least. like I was mentioning earlier, out there in Europe, out there in Asia, those are where the tracks like are beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
Because the racing organization out there, the racing community, not just for motorcycles, but for cars and Formula One out there, it's very big, it's very popular. Out there in Asia, you don't see as much cars, you know, that drive on the streets as here in America. Out there in Asia and out there in Thailand, everything is all motorcycles out there. People commute on scooters, on mopeds out there, and not that much people out there actually own cars like here in America. So, you know, they already have that motorcycle instinct inside them.
Yeah. In terms of your racing, so how does 115 Hmong community? I know your dad's a big mechanic guy. How did you decide? Okay, I'm gonna race.
To be honest, I never thought about racing. You know, back then when I first started, I just really wanted to start riding motorcycles. Motorcycles sparked an interest in me when I was like 13 or 14 years old, and I never, you know, really thought that, oh man, like I want to go professional. I want to race.
Anybody else race in your family?
No one raced.
No one.
So no one introduced me to motorcycles because no one in my family rode motorcycles. No one in my family raced cars or motorcycles. So it was nothing that was introduced, you know, as you know, when I was a lot younger. Motorcycles just kind of sparked an interest in me because it was different. And like I said, when I first started riding motorcycles, it never caught on to me that maybe one day that I'll be racing out here and racing professionally. But as time went on, and when we came out here and we started practicing, we started doing track days, we started progressing really fast, and we started racing local races like this in AFM, CRA, WERA, CVMA down in Chowkwala, and we started getting very fast, you know, in a short amount of time. And that's when we started getting a lot of notice from other racers, big companies, and then as time went on, you know, we caught attention from MotoAmerica, and then we got signed up to go race professionally.
So right now you're sponsored by Kawasaki. Probably the best bike for the 400. You would hands down agree. What makes the Ninja 400 so special?
It's one of the best bikes out there, I would say, because, you know, it's not an incredibly small bike like a Ninja 250 or a Yamaha R3, but it's also not a 600, and that's kind of like the in between right there. That's why the 400 is so liked by so much people, because yes, it's a little faster than say a 250 or a 300, but it's not as fast as a 600. So there's a lot of things that you as a rider could do with the Ninja 400, you know. It's as light as a small bike, you know, it's as light as a 300. Power wise, yes, you're going to be sacrificing a little bit power riding a 400 over a 600, but it's the best of both worlds, and you know, that's why Kawasaki makes such a great bike.
So most people in your division will be riding Ninjas then?
Yes, there will be, the majority will be on Kawasaki, and there will be a handful of Yamaha R3s on the grid as well.
Nice. Let's see, riders. Who would you say is like your I guess you could say role model, or the person that you say, okay, this is definitely the rider that has influenced you?
It would probably be Marc Marquez. He rides for Honda in MotoGP, so the highest level of motorcycle racing out there. I would say he's one of my idols, because, you know, when he was 17, 18 years old, you know, the age I am, he already got picked up by factory Honda in MotoGP, and his accomplishments.
What division does he ride in?
The highest level of racing.
What division of? I guess what bike?
the Repsol Hondas. So those bikes are non-production bikes.
Okay.
So when you get into MotoGP, they ride non-production bikes. So you can't just go to a motorcycle dealership and buy that bike. Anyone could go to a motorcycle dealership and buy a Ninja 400.
Yeah.
And you could buy all the things that my bike has and put it on your Ninja 400. But when you get into a certain level of racing, it really comes down to factory teams versus factory teams. When you get into MotoGP, it's Honda, it's Yamaha, it's Suzuki, Ducati, Aprilia, KTM, a lot of those big factory teams all racing and competing against each other.
So that'll be the end. That'll be the goal, MotoGP.
That's the goal. Yes, that's the goal.
Very nice. Well, how many Hmong riders do you know of right now?
There's not much.
Not much.
That races. There's only very few. There are a lot of Hmong people that do ride motorcycles on the street, and a lot of them do go to the track. But that actually races, I'm the only one that races professionally. But I do know of a rider in Minnesota. His name is Steve Yang. He is an upcoming MotoAmerica racer as well.
Yeah, how old is he?
I believe he is late 20s.
Late 20s?
So.
Oh, interesting. So maybe we'll have more Hmong riders.
That's the plan, you know.
Yeah. If in terms of ethnicity, would you say 反正到来美加是吗? Yeah.
European.
Oh. Okay.
Even out there in Asia, a lot of those Asia riders, they don't even get into MotoGP.
Oh. In terms of the Thai reaction to you placing there well, what was the reaction?
I think they were pretty shocked.
Yeah.
You know, just to see some
minority.
Yeah, come over and never raced that organization before, and you know, just all of a sudden took a first place.
Do they pretty much always go cold on the track at about 5-ish?
Yes, usually around 5 o'clock is when the track goes cold. That's when the day's over. There's no more motorcycles on the track, and we're allowed to go on the track, ride bicycles on the track. A lot of the racers that like to run or walk the track, you know, just for exercise. Some people, they wake up super early in the morning, like at 6 o'clock, and get 3 miles of running in before they get the day started. Yeah. So it's very interesting what people do out here when the track is cold. Some people, they come out here and, you know, they kind of have fun and just walk around.
So that's the last turn right there.
Yes.
So we've walked the whole entire track. How fast does your heart rate go when you're riding? I bet, is it pretty much high the whole entire time?
No.
We're relaxed.
It's very chill on the motorcycle. Like, I've gotten that question a lot, and they're like, "Oh man, like it must be crazy, you know?" And because like when you guys are racing, there's so much things going on, and you're going so fast, and it feels when you get used to it, it's nothing much. Like, if you watch us, it looks crazy because we're flying so fast, and you know we're doing all of these things, and we're doing so much. But under the helmet, you know, it just kind of feels like I'm at home, you know, just laying in my bed because we're so used to it at that point. And sometimes it could get pretty nerve-wracking because, you know, you might have a mistake or you might have done something wrong, and you know, you might get scared or that might scare you. But I would say it's pretty calm, it's pretty chill under your helmet. Like, I wish they had a camera in my helmet so you could see my face, you know, when I'm racing and riding. Just, you know, just little to no face expression when we're racing.
Nice. So last turn right here.
This is the turn that goes into the hot pit. So
so it would be that other turn right there.
That's the last turn.
So we're going to the pits here.
And then this is the off ramp into the hot pit, and then back into the pit.
Nice. So come tomorrow, will there be a whole lot of people more here, or is pretty much everyone here already?
You will see a few
more trailers,
riders that will come up later tonight, because it is still Friday. Some people they might have to work Fridays, and they might get here tomorrow morning. You know, some people they're busy on Fridays and they just can't make it out here on a Friday. But there will be a little bit more people tomorrow.
Yeah, nice. So what's your reflection on Thailand? There was a particular race there where you led, but then somehow they crept up on you at the very end. Is there a reason why that happened, or was there a trick to that most non-riders aren't aware of?
I was aware of that situation. That was something that I was afraid of, and I was leading the 90% of the race, you know, from the start all the way till one of the last corners, and I got passed by 4 riders, and I wasn't able to step on the podium because of that. They are very good and skilled riders out there, and that is something that I knew, and I already had that experience and knowledge. But pretty much what they did is that they waited until the perfect opportunity to pass me and get in front of me.
Yeah.
So they sat behind me. They were in no rush to pass me, and
were they just riding your tailwind or something?
They were, yes.
Yeah.
And they were studying me as a rider. Where am I strong going into this corner? Where is he faster than I am? And they're paying attention to how many laps we have left. Every time we go down the straightaway, they were like 3 laps left, 2 laps left. Okay, final lap.
Yeah.
And they're learning as we go on. Like, oh, okay, we gotta be careful here. This rider is faster than me here. I have the slight advantage here because I'm a lot faster than he is through here.
Yeah.
So as those laps are clicking down, you're learning that rider. And
so there's a lot of technique to just riding.
There is a lot of technique, and they pretty much learned how I rode and how I entered that corner, and they made their move, and it was a very smart move that they did because it was the last lap in one of the last corners, and I didn't have enough time to catch back up to the other riders.
Yeah. Because I noticed that the next day when you rode, that didn't happen again.
The next day when I rode,
was it pretty much the same riders also? Or was it completely different riders?
It was all the same riders.
Yeah, so it didn't quite happen again that way.
I got to learn that what their racecraft out there was, and I had to adjust, you know, to that.
So there were some bikes you said that were faster than yours by a little bit.
There was, yes.
Yeah, so that made sense. Interesting. So now you know how to counter that. Kind of.
But it was a different time out there. I've never ridden with those riders before. Like here in MotoAmerica, I know these riders and I know how they like to ride. And you know every rider, you know their strong point and their weak points are. But the thing is, when I went overseas, I'd never ridden with those riders before, so I never knew how they rode. I didn't know who was the fast guy. I didn't know who was the reckless guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know who the top runners were. But as the race went on, you start to
figure it out.
To figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
And after race 2, the second race, the race that I did win, you know, you kind of figure those things out as the race went on.
Yeah.
So that's something that you
part
have
of the learning curve. That's all. All right, cool. Well, we're here back.
Yeah, we're back.
Back at the
Just about
home base.
hour and a half.
Yeah. So, hey, thank you for letting us walk the track with you and pick your brain a little bit. And I sure learned a lot about riding today, and I hope probably the people viewing this will probably learn too.
Oh yeah.
All right, thanks, Aden.
Thank you.